Hi. So, I finished a year-long project. Let's talk about it. What is a temperature blanket? A temperature blanket is a year-long project where you crochet or knit. I've seen knit blankets every single day for a whole year. And the color that you use to crochet is a color that represents a certain temperature and is usually the temperature of the day. So the most common temperature blankets are the ones that use the temperature colors that we're used to. So like the low temperatures are blues and the high temperatures are reds, and there's the in-betweens. Like it goes from dark blue to dark red, and then it goes like light blues, the middle's like an orange, yellow for the mid temperatures, and then highs are reds. And usually people would do stripes. So one roll every single day. You set the width of the blanket as you start, and then every single day is a different roll. That is like the base kind of temperature blanket, but you can totally do whatever you want. I mean, it's your project, it's your life, it's your crochet, and there are countless examples of so many different types of temperature blankets. You can use different colors, you can use different shapes, and my case is one of the latter. I did use different colors and different shapes to create my blanket. I have a video talking all about my hopes and expectations when I started the blanket, so before I did everything, and I also have a kind of catching up video that I did in September. So I changed a few things along the way, but basically when my blanket is made in hexagons, I had never done a blanket in crochet ever before. The biggest crochet project that I had ever done before were crochet pants, the granny square pants, and I did a lot of granny squares for that project. So I kind of had an experience with doing a lot of the same kind of shape. I also had experience using a 1.75 crochet hook in a lot of my projects. So I decided that I was going to do a shape kind of blanket, as in I would do a separate little shape for each day, and I would do a 1.75 millimeter hook. And I would use a yarn that caters to my 1.75 millimeter hook. So I went to like a crafting website and I went to see the colors of this yarn. That is the yarn that I use the most. I'm used to this yarn. I'll have a link in the description in case you want it. It's just a thin yarn. It's a cotton yarn, and I saw all the colors that they had available. I knew I wanted to use pink because I like pink, and I like the combination of a green and a pink. I just think that's a beautiful color combo. I love it. So I decided I was going to use those colors and go from a green to a pink. When I scrolled the website, I chose as many colors as I could, as many as they had in the website, and they arrived home in a big box. And then I decided what was the shape that I was going to do. I went on Pinterest and I saw a bunch of blankets, and my favorites were hexagon blankets. I went on YouTube, I learned how to do the crochet hexagon. I went for this one. It's called African Flower Hexagon. I know I have it linked in the first video I did about the project, but I can try and find it and link it in this video. I decided which color was supposed to be for each temperature, and I went for it. Now, you can clearly see that this is very colorful, and usually people will use one temperature, one color for each day. And I did one hexagon per day. Clearly it has 4 different colors. So this pattern for this hexagon had 4 colors, and I decided to go with it. So I decided that I was going to use 3 colors for each day. My idea was using the low temperature for the middle of the flower, the high temperature for the last like little colorful bit of the hexagon. And for the petals, originally I wanted to use the temperature of the exact time that I was crocheting in, because I had this idea that I wanted to either stream or video myself crocheting, and at the exact time that I was crocheting, I was going to use the temperature of that time in the hexagon. And I did that for a few months. I think I'd say till April, apart from a little trip that I made that I didn't manage to crochet on, and I used the average for that. But then I started disliking that because a lot of days I only found time to crochet in the early morning, so like 5, 6 a.m. And at the time in the morning, the low and the high are only predictions. They're not actually what is going to happen for sure. So I was noticing that my hexagons were starting to not really show the actual color of the day. By the way, I use Celsius. I know people that use Fahrenheit use bigger ranges for less yarn. So because I know you guys have a lot more variation in between each temperature. I think I decided to slowly change it, and I made it so I was using the middle as the low temperature, the petals as the average for the day, and the outer colorful piece would be the high for the day. I decided to choose one color to use as an outer like border for every single hexagon, so they would be a little bit more cohesive. Most blankets that I've seen don't really have a separation in between days. Sometimes they separate months, sometimes they separate seasons. I don't usually see people separating days because it obviously takes a lot of time. I decided to do it because it would make sense with the pattern that I chose. I knew that I wasn't going to make such a gigantic blanket because of the yarn that I'm using and the hook that I'm using. So I decided to do a throw blanket, like one of those blankets that you put at the end of the bed. So I made it quite narrow. I made it 14 hexagons wide and then however many long. And that would mean that I would actually have one extra hexagon at the end of the year for December 31st. And I actually didn't make it. So this is the temperature blanket that goes from January 1st till December 30th, 2023. So it's not a full year. You'll have to forgive me. The pros and cons of my temperature blanket. First of all, it is a commitment. It is a very big commitment. And I feel very accomplished to have done it. It was really nice to see the progress, right? Firstly, I had just like a little skinny roll of like hexagons, and it slowly grew and grew and grew, and that was really fun to make. So I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I committed to it and finished it. Glad as well that I found the mistakes in my approach and I didn't mind changing them. It's my design is for myself, and something that made it more doable for me was doing a color for the specific time that I was working in and changing it to the average of every day. And with that, I changed from working on a hexagon for that day on that day to working on the previous day hexagon. So for example, today is the 5th of January. I would be working on the hexagon for the 4th of January because I would know all the information for that day. I have a couple of weather websites that I used to track that information that I feel like I used to double check to see if they were kind of similar. I'll link them down below if you need them. I can say that I've done a temperature blanket once and I have the results to show. Actually, I didn't show you yet, did I? Do you want to see it? No, I'll show you. I'll show you in the end, okay? Also, a pro of doing this, it was nice to always have a project that I'm working in, but I don't have to rush. Like, there were days that I kind of unfortunately missed a little bit, so I had to catch up. Usually the days that I did not manage to work on hexagons were days that I had to fulfill commissions on work, or I decided to work on videos for the channel that I was doing something like crochet or knitwise. So it felt nice to always have a crochet project to work in, and I didn't feel like I needed to rush or to finish it really fast because it has a yearly deadline. And it's nice sometimes to like take it slow. It's a little hexagon every day. You did it. You're good to go. I really felt fulfilled in the days that I worked on it in the very morning because I wake up really early. Some days I would wake up at like 5:30 and just be done with it really quick. And I was like, I'm caught up. That is done. I feel fulfilled. That was really nice. And the one thing specifically about this project, my design, is that not only this one, but any temperature blanket that is done with a little shape every single day, you can take it places. So, for example, I would go to a doctor's appointment or to my therapy, or I would take a long bus ride. Even when I go to the gym, I do 2 classes, so I have like a gap in between the classes. I would get the information of the weather of the previous day. I would take little bits of the yarn of said day that I was going to work in. You can see in here, like there are little like pieces of the yarn that it's like loose here, like this. I used to like make little spools of yarn that I knew were enough to do the hexagon, and I would take it with me in a little pouch. Like I have a little pouch. I would just have my crochet hook, scissors, and a tapestry needle, sometimes to weave it in. I could do the hexagon wherever I was, and I didn't need to take the whole blanket with me wherever I went to work on it. When planning another temperature blanket, I would think of working with shapes instead of working on a continuous blanket, like a every roll a day or something like that. I felt like that was a really good approach. Okay, so for the cons, there are a few cons. First of all, the initial plan kind of didn't work out. I had the idea, I changed it. That's a little bit of a con, but obviously if you want to use this blanket as a data analysis, you really can't, because of the difference from when I started it to where I finished it. But no one's gonna use this for data, so I don't really care. This is a little fail of mine. Something else is the time that it took. This blanket was taking me too much time to do an individual day's worth of crochet. The hexagons themselves would take me at least half an hour to do. I think there was once where I managed to do it in 26 minutes from start to finish, to attaching it to the blanket. By the way, yes, I did attach it as I went. Like even in the days that I would take the yarn with me and crochet it somewhere else, I would get back home as soon as I could. I would attach it to the blanket. There were very few times where I made multiple, like more than 2 or 3, and attached them later. Actually, at the end of the year was a time where I think I missed like 14 days because I had so much going on, but I did manage to do them all. And that was the one time that I had like a stack of individual hexagons not attached. But that was the only time. I usually attached them as I went. Even when I was batch creating, I would do one, attach it, do another, attach it, do another, attach it. Getting my phone to see the temperature and like picking it out and doing the middle one and then changing it, doing the petals and changing it, doing the outer one and changing it, doing the white one. That took me at least half an hour, and half an hour every single day for like a project that, for me, I like making clothes. So for like a blanket, it's a bit like, okay, even though in the pros, I did say that it was nice that I had a project to work in every single day. It was also a little bit annoying that I would use half an hour to do a little hexagon for my year-long project instead of crocheting a little blouse, crocheting a mini skirt for myself, you know? Also, a thing that I disliked a little bit, I needed a couple more colors. I am not going to lie. I like the green to pink transition. I'm not sure I like how I decided it, because there are a couple of them are too similar to each other. 21 and 22 are too similar in my opinion. My lowest temperature, the 11 Celsius minus, and the other one that is 12 till 14 Celsius, those are actually the same yarn, but I bought them in completely different times of life, so they're a little bit different, but they're too similar. So I would have added at least 2 more colors to the beginning, to the low temperatures, because I just didn't have that many, and I would add like at least 1 more to the high temperatures, because these share temperature, this one shares a temperature, and I didn't really want them shared. And I know this is a lot of colors. I think people usually use less colors. I think it's because like I liked using a lot of color. I would add more. This was my worst choice, the worst choice I could possibly have had, because I knew I wanted a lot of colors and I didn't have them. I consciously chose to add a multicolor yarn to the bundle. It obviously was not a good idea. A temperature that happens a lot, it's a mead temperature. It's the 19 Celsius, this one. So I used it a lot and it kind of looks weird. It obviously does look weird. I don't know. So this is a fail. Do not choose a colorful yarn for your temperature blanket. In case you were wondering, like you're looking at your options, you're like, I want another color, but I don't have an option. But this one, it's multicolored and it's in the color range that I'm going for. Do not buy that yarn for something else, for a blanket just for yourself. Do not use it on a temperature blanket. You're going to regret it, like I did. Also, a little bit of the thing, the weaving in. The weaving in takes time because I chose, it's not one color every day, it's 4. So the weaving in became annoying. For the first couple of months, I wove in every time, every day, change colors, weave it in, change colors, weave it in. And obviously I did get a little bit of the end as I started a new color, but still, like I need to do like a little knot. I need to weave it in very well for me to be happy with it. And I slowly but surely started not weaving them in. So there are a lot of unweaved in parts of the project. Oops. This is a con of the type of project that I chose to do. Maybe a different shape with one color a day would be better. Or just let them like that. There are people, I've seen people adding fleece to the back of blankets so you don't have to weave in. Maybe that's an option. Mine is thin. Mine is like a very loose, it's not even heavy because it's such a thin yarn. So I wouldn't add fleece to the back of it, but it is, if you want to do a multicolored temperature blanket, but you're worried about the weaving in, either weave them in as you go and commit to that, or fleece backing might be nice. So these are my pros and cons. I think this is what I can think about right now, and maybe I'll do the review right now for you. I know you want to see it. I'll show it to you. This is it. I love it. What do you think? Did you like it? It honestly, because it's so skinny, it looks better vertically. I feel like you have so much screen that you're looking at. It was a little bit underwhelming. On the TikTok, it looks better because it's like it takes up the whole screen. I hope you didn't expect it to be gigantic. I was talking for a long time about how thin my yarn is. So final considerations. Will I do a temperature blanket next year? This year. I'm filming this on the 5th. I don't know. Listen, at the end of 2023, I did start planning out another temperature project. I actually wanted to do, should I share it? I will share it. I wanted to do a temperature cardigan. I was starting to plan it out. I like making clothes. I know that if I make another blanket, I'm not gonna have anywhere to wear it. Any kind of temperature blanket that I would do, the next one that I will probably do at some point, I want to do starting on brown and going to light orange, passing through red. I'd have to work it out how I would do it, like chromatically wise, but that's kind of the vibe that I'm going for. They're like dark browns, beiges, reds, and oranges, maybe a little yellow there somewhere. As I was starting to plan it, a couple of things started piling up. December was really full of stuff for myself, and I just kind of didn't plan it. I didn't buy the yarn. So far I have not started a temperature blanket. You can obviously start your temperature blanket at any point of the year. You can do it historically, or you can just start at a random day. It's your blanket, it's your like days, like it doesn't really matter. Another thing that is keeping me from starting another temperature project is this box of yarns. I don't know if you can tell, but it's really full. it's really full of yarn. I did a little dent in the amounts of yarns that I have for each skein. The only skein that I went through in its entirety obviously was the white one that I'm using for every single day, and I finished the first skein on the 23rd of December. So one skein lasted all pretty much the whole year. I needed like a little bit of an extra skein. There's so much I could do, so much with this. Not only I have this amount of yarn that I don't actually have anywhere else to store because my yarn shelf is full already. Hypothetically, if I was going to start another project, I would use this box. Even though because it's pretty, it closes, I can put the blanket here inside out actually, and it's a pretty box. If you must know, I used the box that the yarn came on for all the way till August. I had this big ugly cardboard box with me, sometimes in trips, sometimes just like in my room, and it was ugly and I hated it, and I don't want to have a big cardboard box with me wasting space, and I don't have places to put this yarn. So I kind of want to use this yarn and then think about another project with this amount of like yarn that has like little usage as well. So also comment down below ideas for projects to do with this, and it does not have to be like a scrap yarn. I did start a scrap yarn one, this one. I'm doing like trebles, just using these little bits that I separated when I went out and crocheted out. So I'm using these like little loose ones, but the actual skeins have so much yarn in them. They're like full, they're full. Like one of the colors that I use the most is like the 19, and like this is it. Like it's so full, but I need to be done with this yarn before I want to start another project with a lot of yarn. So that's why I'm not doing it another temperature blanket right now. But I have been considering for the past couple of days the possibility that I might just continue this one, because it is quite small. It just has like the exact size of my bed. It just goes from like one side to the other exactly. And that's not really appealing. Usually blankets like this, like these straw skinny blankets, they go from the bottom of the bed up and then to the other bottom. So I feel like if I did the 2 years in one blanket, it would be exactly the size that I need for an actual long bottom of the bed blanket. Although I'm not sure if I would like this colorway with the decor in this room, where this is the room that I have my bed in, because it's very green, it's very orange. The green matches but the pink doesn't, but at the same time I'm a pink person, so maybe I wouldn't mind it that much. But if I do that, I think I will be batch creating at the end of a week, although that would take me a long time. I'm not sure. But still, even if I continue doing the temperature hexagons, I will still have a lot of yarn left. So still comment down below things that I should do clothing wise. Maybe not clothing, it could be accessories. And comment if you think I should continue it and do a 2-year blanket instead of a 1-year blanket. When I was trying to create and trying to plan a new blanket, I was thinking bigger needle, thicker yarn, maximum 20 minutes every single day, but hopefully like 10 to 15 minutes. And I like my thin yarn stuff, but it's a blanket. It can be cozy, it can be heavy. Usually my talking point when talking about wanting to use thin yarn and making thin things, it's I make clothing, I live in a hot country, I just want it to be breathable and wearable, so this is why I often use thin yarn. But it's a blanket does not have that. So yeah, I wanted to make a faster project, and if I continue this, it will be the exact same. That is the only thing that's kind of holding me back. The fact of doing the same project does not bother me. Using the same colors do not bother me. That the time that it takes is the only thing holding me back. So that's that. And I have talked for way too long. I went through all of my talking points. I've talked for too long. If you're still here, do comment a yarn emoji. I have a video in September catching up about the blanket as well, and I have a video in the very end of 2022 where I talked about my ideas. If you watch the video, you'll see that I was very delusional with a lot of other things that I wanted to do. So comment there if you go there as well. But yeah, this is it. I hope you liked this video. I hope it was helpful. Just so you know, I really like making clothing. I do like to knit, machine knit, crochet and sew, and that's the kind of stuff that I bring to this channel. So if you want, consider subscribing to the channel, liking this video. Let me know in the comments down below if you found this video useful, if you've ever done a temperature blanket, if you're considering doing a temperature blanket, if you started a temperature blanket, did you finish it or did you stop it midway? Why did you stop? Like, what was the thing that made you just not want to continue doing it? Would you continue it later, like do it historically? Are you planning on doing one in the next year? Would you like to do this temperature blanket? Let me know. Should I continue it or should I just be done with it? Maybe do a border? Let me know. What are your opinions? What are your thoughts? I hope you enjoyed it. See you in the next video very, very soon. Goodbye.